that. So I'll start with the light colours, I think, first, and then work in my darks. Let's take another bit of blue and a touch of magenta, because I want to complement the painting, okay? If you look at the photograph, if you download the photograph now and look at it very closely, you'll see we have lots of mauves, pinky colours going through the bottom here, a little bit of pinky colour going through the windowsill. So we complement that on the background by putting in a touch of a pinky mauve just out in the background, okay, into this blue, just here and there. And I think that will really complement the painting later on. So what I'm going to do is just dab up my brush, very rough brush, just dab, 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 just to make it very rough looking, okay? Lots of foliage and all that kind of stuff going on. Now, I'm going to start introducing some darker colours. Take some phthalo blue, magenta, and some cadmium yellow. So we're going into more of a green colour now. Yeah, that's good. Because we want to create some distance and some depth in the scene, I'm making these very soft colours, all right? They're not very rich just yet. They're just nice and soft. Very soft, distant colours. And the blue in this will really push these back. That's why I put the blue in. Just to really push them back, all right? I'm going to keep the light up on top up here. Now I'm going to start going slightly darker. So we're working in our darks. I know typically with oil painting, you start with your darker shades first, but I want to do this carefully. I don't want to overpower these trees with too much dark colour, so I'm just being very careful. Some phthalo blue and some cadmium yellow again. I'm going slightly richer this time, slightly richer, and I may even take a hint of lamp black, okay, a tiny hint. I just want to get a nice dark, dark green, all right? I'm going to start pulling this in, just very roughly like this, okay? Just pick out some little dark spots, very, very loose. Now, don't be afraid of ruining anything on this, all right? Just pop a little bit of dark green in here and there. That's our next darker shade. There is some quite dark ones in there. I'm going to pop some really dark ones in. Some lamp black and cadmium yellow. Okay? Because remember, for your brights, you want some nice dark. So our nice bright highlights will stand out lovely against all of these in a moment. A little bit of blue, perhaps. Let's put a bit of blue in there. A bit of dark blue. Just think of foliage, nothing else. Just think of trees and foliage, nothing else. Now, I'm going to just soften all of this together very gently with my brush. Look, just pop it out, leave it soften together. And really, at the end of the day, it's just an impression of some foliage outside the window. That's really all we're trying to get, all right? So, I'm little flicks with the knife. You see that? Small flicks. Now, there's something I want to mention, okay? I had a comment on my channel yesterday. Somebody was saying, you know, that some of the paintings on the channel are becoming very difficult. Hence the name of the channel, Easy Oil Painting. Now, the issue with that is, I want to push viewers and push students, let's say, just push them a little bit every now and then. If I keep doing very easy oil paintings, I find people will get bored and they'll switch off because they're just not getting enough and they want to progress. So that's why sometimes I will put some slightly more difficult paintings up on my channel, okay? That's the only reason. Just to push you a little bit. If I keep putting easy, simple tutorials up online, people will just, viewers, amateurs, beginners, they will tend to get bored and want to switch off and go to something a little more complicated somewhere else. So that's the only reason I always, every now and then, I put a slightly more difficult painting up online for you to try. But for the most part, most of the techniques I use on my tutorials are just simple, easy to follow techniques. If you just follow them in steps, that's what I would say, okay? Just follow them in steps. Now I've taken some burnt umber and black, okay? Get the edge of this window frame down here. So I just wanted to kind of confirm that. I know a lot of you may struggle with some of the paintings that I'm doing and the techniques. But look, what I would say is just focus on one area at a time. I find with a lot of people, a lot of amateurs and beginners, they're looking around the painting and they're trying to get everything done at the same time. You know, being impatient, I suppose. What I would say is just like this, focus on one section of a painting at a time. And when you're happy with that, then just move on. You know, don't try to get every single section of the painting done at the same time. Because if you try to focus on everything at once, you will just get lost and bogged down and you become frustrated. That's what I would say. And it can be very frustrating, even sometimes for me, if it's a very intricate painting. This is quite a simple painting, okay? It's just a window with some dark colour. Think of it like that. And at the very end, so you see, what you want to do is just start with the most popular colour that you have in this background, so which is a very dark colour, a dark, rich, dark green. So just mix a rich dark green and cover the entire background with that. And you can just add colours as you need, okay? Let's go over here. I make this reveal just slightly bigger over here. I cover all of this side as well. Cover everything, don't be shy. Cover it all with a nice dark colour. Up on top it's almost black, isn't it? So let's just take a touch of turpentine and take a bit of black. Pop a little bit of black up there. Soften it down, either side. And it probably just looks like a real blacky colour on camera. Now what I'm going to do is look around and see where you have your darks. So it gets darker down here, doesn't it? So let's take some lamp black and phaylo blue. Okay, that'll give us a bluey black. Let's pop some of that down here. Just go right across, don't be shy, soften it up. Lift off nice and gently, soften it up. There we go. And it also gets quite dark on this side as well. So let's take some of that, go up here. And I'm going to show you a lovely little trick here in a moment. To bring dark shadowed areas to life, okay? One very, very good way you can do that, if you find your dark shadowed areas are just very bland and very flat, a great way to do this is simply take some very rich purple, okay? Let's get some phaylo blue, lots of magenta, and a hint of white, okay? Now, you see this very rich pinky colour we have? I'm going to pop some of this in around here and there. So, even a bit of that brown, grab some of that brown, look. Let's go into some black, pop some black around here and there. I'm just literally putting a tiny bit of this here and there, just to create some nice texture on the wall, okay? Because I'm then going to soften all of this out with a lovely soft brush in a moment. Okay, we have that. Now, let's get our soft brush. We could try a fan brush or this soft fan brush. Let me try this. Simply just going to go over all of these, up and down, look. I really just want to create some texture on the wall, but a very soft texture, all right? It's just to give a bit of interest. Otherwise, you know, if you don't do this, it will just look very flat, the painting. It'll look very, very flat. So I think just with a little palette knife, a tiny bit of texture goes a long way. And it will give you the impression of a very old building. Then you can go across it if you want, soften them in a bit more. And it's not straight, okay? Don't worry about getting a straight line. You can see in the photograph, the ceiling has a bit of a bend in the ceiling. So don't be trying to put completely straight lines in here. There's really no need. Just give it a bit of a bend, like that. Okay, so we have that done. Now you can see it looks like a flat color, doesn't it? So what I want to do is just add some dark towards the frame. You see on the photograph it gets darker as it goes in. Let's just take a bit of black and perhaps a bit of blue. That will give us a nice dark, shady color, okay? Push it just down into the window frame, push it in, and then you just want to sort of soften it outwards with your brush, very gently. And I will put a palette knife on this as well to create some texture very soon. But let's just do one thing at a time for now. A bit of black just in there by the window frame. And soften across where it meets. See? Already we're starting to get that mood, that kind of dark mood feeling with the light coming in, aren't we? Okay, let's go to the other side. Let's pop some colour in here. I'm going to start with a medium kind of a greeny colour first. So a little bit of cadmium yellow, some blue. Again, I need more cadmium yellow. It's a slightly softer colour on this side because the sunlight is catching this wall, so it's going to be slightly warmer. This one is slightly cooler. So a little bit more blue in this, you see? And the lovely thing about this painting is you don't have to worry about getting straight lines, because you can see it has a bit of character. The fact that the walls are not completely straight, it gives it some nice character, doesn't it? I'm taking some phthalo blue, magenta, and a little white, okay? I'm just going to pop that bright colour towards the bottom. Bring it across the bottom as well and soften it over. Soften it up. Soften them across nice and gently outwards. You see? Then I'll just finally take some black on its own, just a little black with my dry brush, and we have little kind of a shadow where the window casts a little shadow. Just put that across like that. So now, also, while we have this colour, let's take some of that black and the brown, and let's just darken some of the window frame. You can see it looks almost black in some parts, doesn't it? So let's just put some of that on the window frame over here. Nice dark shade. I'm going to soften it over. I like this light, I'm going to leave that. It's not on the photograph. But I'm just going to sharpen the edges of the window frame with this dark colour, okay? Some black, some brown. And I promise you, just try this, okay? Don't be afraid, just give it a try. And at the end of the day, what's the worst that can happen? It's only paint. If you make a mistake, you can just clean your canvas with something and start again. Honestly. Just do try it. Because unless you try it, you're never going to know if you can do it or not. Isn't that right? A little bit of dark up in this corner here. And I'm going to go nice and dark up in this corner. Okay? Really, that's all you have to do. Just remember to soften it outwards as you drag away, okay? Now I will just put a little bit of a bluey green down around here, okay? You can see a bit of a bluey green coming into the painting just here. Just going to add a touch, and again I can soften this back in then. All right. Now I'm also going to add a touch of that colour while I have it to this wall here. And perhaps a little bit of that bluey mauve colour over on this side. Let's just scratch it, soften it out. Creating some light just in this corner over here on the wall, okay? And you can see by scratching, you're even creating some texture as you scratch it on as well. That's what we want. We want some texture, don't we? Don't be afraid. Don't think you're going to ruin your painting, because honestly, you won't. I'm sure any of you watching right now can do this. Absolutely sure. Now we have a nice dark window board under here. Let me just get a small pointy brush and pop a little window board in just to set everything off. I'm going to get some burnt umber, some thinners and some black, okay? It was also suggested perhaps we could put a cat or something looking out the window. I think that's quite a nice idea. What do you think? A silhouette of a black cat sitting on the windowsill looking out. We could do that. We can do whatever we like. It's our painting. We can put a plant, a cat, anything. Okay, a nice little dark. Now while we have our dark colour, we could just refine and add a few darks here and there to the window frame. Just take a little black here and there and all that kind of stuff, okay? Let's just pretend. There we go. So now all you have to do is just refine some of those lines. So cut through your centerpiece like that, okay? And then what I'm going to do is just cut across the tops and cut across the bottom. And I'm then going to put a slight hint of white. Now I know this seems dramatic, but get some white on your pointy brush. Now you need a very fine pointy brush for this. If you don't have a fine pointy brush, don't worry, you don't have to do this. So I'm going to put a hint of white just down the sides and on top of some of these, just to give the impression of the light catching the outside and the edge of the frames. Sunlight just coming in, catching some of the edges, okay? And look, honestly, if you're not comfortable with this, just leave it as it is, okay? You don't really have to try and copy everything exactly that I'm doing. I'm finished with this. I'm going to leave this. I think I'll just leave it. Perhaps we could add a little light to some down with that. Again, more thinners, just to make it nice and slippery so we can fill in this canvas nice and quickly, all right? Come down here. Already you can see how the colours are bouncing off of each other. So those bit of pinks and blues up there, they're really starting to bounce off of the floor, aren't they? Okay, I'm going to just put in the top of that step, okay? Let's take some magenta and blue again with a little white. And let's just get that shape that we had earlier. It was kind of like this, wasn't it? I think it was like that. Yeah, that's kind of pretty much where I want to be. Maybe a little sharper. I can use my pointy knife as well in a moment just to sharpen this up. I'll use a smaller brush for that down there. Cross here. So now I want to darken this, get some nice brown going through this. I'm going to take some magenta and burnt umber, okay? That gives us that wonderful pinky brown colour, you see that? Now let's get plenty of paint, let's not be shy, okay? Come up here, bring it across the top, soften it down. So you can see now I'm building up slightly thicker layers. This will take a couple of goes. Okay, I'll stop with that now and I'm going to switch to a small brush. A nice small flat brush. Now I'm going to go really dark. Phthalo blue, magenta, and some black, okay? Now we've gone really blacky on this, really very, very dark colour. Just cut across like that. And I'm going to sort of, just using the edge of the brush, we'll just create some lines. Just to suggest it's a floorboard, okay? Drag some lines across like that. I'll get that colour and I'll go in the back here, nice and dark and behind that as well. You see, just like that. Then I go pure black up here. Just black on its own on the brush, nothing else. So there, softening it out. Now what I want to do is soften this into the bottom of the wall. So it looks like it's just merging into one, doesn't it? So I'm just going to go along with that dark purple and go across that dark line I just painted, okay? I'm going to soften it all and bring it up. Soften it upwards like this, you see? So now it almost disappears, doesn't it? Up the wall. Okay, let's do these lovely steps. And we'll just have a little bit of work after that, catching some highlights and that kind of thing, okay? Let's warm the steps a little. And we'll go with some pinky colour. And remember, when I'm doing this, I'm following the direction of the floor here. So the floor is going kind of across that way. We'll step up. So I'm following that direction with the boards, you see, just to give a hint of a direction on the boards. I'll try some cadmium red. A bit of cadmium red in there. Just here and there, look. Just to add a little bit of colour. Then I'm going to come down and do the next step underneath. That comes out at an angle like this, doesn't it? Then it comes down almost straight. I'll put a slight angle on it. Fill that in. You can use a pointy brush for this now if you like as well, okay? Nice little pointy brush. Then I'm going to just, you see the way, again, this darkens into the wall at the back. It just sort of disappears into the darkness. Let's try that. Magenta, phthalo blue, just to show the viewer it's a floorboard. Do you understand what I mean? And I might just go in here and darken just around that. Make it a bit crisper, that's all. Do you understand what I mean? A little bit crisper. And then put another little piece like that. They're very kind of strange shapes, aren't they? Even on the photograph, they look very strange because one turns slightly as it comes up. You see what I mean? Now, I'm going to just put a nice dark on this. Let's get a nice rich, dark, deep purple. Magenta, some blue and some black. Take a hint of cadmium red there as well. I just maybe want it just so it's not so cold. Okay, we have that one. And then we go and we do this one. There's a bit of white in this, slight hint of white. I'll take my flatter brush for this, I think. And let's here and there. And you could even just add a little dab here and there, just for a little bit of detail, I suppose you could call it. Why not? Let's call it little detail. And you know what? We're almost finished, my friends. We really are. I really enjoyed painting this for a change. It was just so refreshing. A change from landscapes, it's always nice. We'll pop a little bit of pink in here, just to draw the eye in, okay? A little bit of warmth, and maybe a hint of it just down here. Now, the next thing I want to do is just with a small palette knife, I want to create, we'll use this one actually, I want to create some light on the floor, just to create real impact. Do you understand what I mean? So, a little bit of blue and a bit of white. You can see they're not really mixed too much. Maybe a bit of extra blue, come on, let's use plenty. And I just want to sort of go across and catch some light here and there. It seems to be central in one or two spots. Now I'm then going to pull that down like this, look. That's all I'm going to do, and then just soften with my soft brush. Something like that, and I think that's enough. I don't think we need to go any further, my friends. I might just put a little dark across there. Oh yes, there's one thing I did want to do. I'm going to take some sienna and just pop a hint of sienna here and there just on the frame as well, just to add some warmth. So imagine it's a dark brown window, okay? But the sun is coming in, hitting the window. So it's going to just add hints of a nice warm brown here and there in the shadow. I think we're done. So I will leave it at that, my friends. I am done. I am dusted. I'm not going to do any more. It's just a nice, simple little effect I wanted to create. And I must sign. I'm going to sign. Always sign your paintings because it's not finished until you sign, okay? There, done. And I thank you so much.